And we are live. Welcome to Bout That Life Podcast. I'm your host, Coach C.Collins. If you've been here for a minute, I appreciate it, man. If you've been subscribing, hitting on that YouTube like, helping me out with the algorithm, doing the HBO special, it is very, very, very appreciated. I keep seeing my subscribers grow little by little by little. I do appreciate that. Checking the audio stats. Everybody's been checking it out, so I really like that. I have a good guest for you guys. Known this young man a while. We'll get all into his origins. But before we do that, again, check the intro out. We'll see you when you get back.
Hey, Bout That Life Podcast. If you're not a subscriber, you need to be. You have to be. You're learning about the game. You're helping your young athlete on and off the court. Check it out. Bout That Life Podcast.
From the YBA Phenix Fitness 24/7 basketball facility in Rocklin, California, it's Bout That Life Podcast with your host, Coach C.Collins and Coach MJ.
Get it started. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hey, welcome to Bout That Life Podcast. If you are checking us out on the audio side, it is very appreciated as always. I know I've been checking that algorithm and my followers have been growing up, subscribers have been going up, and on top of that, I do know people are listening whether you subscribe or not. So that's very much appreciated either way because that lets me know the message is getting across. So before I get into my guests and all that stuff, got to obviously do a quick shout out to my sponsors. Quick shout out to Dr. Dish, best shooting machine on the market. Why are they the best? Because they sponsor this. No, they are a good shooting machine. I use 2 of them. I have 2 or 3 of them in my gym myself. And my kids are getting better and better using them every day. So I definitely recommend the home version, especially for those who are looking to get shots at home. Go ahead and let them know About That Life Podcast sent you. They'll hook you up with a discount. Also, shout out to Hardwood Palace. If you're looking for AAU tournaments, rec leagues, just a basketball ecosystem in general, please check out Hardwood Palace in Rocklin, California. Steve or Grant, let them know About That Life sent you. They'll hook you up as well, but they run really good, consistent tournaments. So with all that being said, I want to get to my guest. Me and him have been passing by and, being ships in the night, but no, this young man has been doing really good things. He's a trainer, he's a coach. I remember when he was a younger player and I was just really getting my foothold in YBA as an AU program. He's also a former YBA player, and we'll get all into that stuff. But I definitely think this will be a great episode for those who really want to enter the training stratosphere and understanding that grind, understanding, what it takes, how you have to approach it psychologically, physically, things like that. This will be a really good episode for you. But, well, without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Jeremiah Welsh. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good.
That's good.
Glad we're finally here. I know it's been a couple of years of back and forth on this, and here we are.
No, man, you've been traveling. You've been doing good stuff. And like we talked about before the show, I want people to hear your story. I want people to know this. Before we get, more into the current side of things for you, briefly, if you can, maybe tell people your basketball background, your AAU, college, whatnot, all that stuff. Feel free. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, it's been a minute for me as a player. But I grew up here in the Sacramento area. I went to a little high school, Wilton Christian High School. Mm-hmm. And I think we were talking about this, but I think my senior year was the last year they had sports.
Yeah.
And it was, at the time, I think the enrollment was going down.
Yeah.
And my freshman year was my second year I played basketball, which is actually kind of crazy. In 7th grade, I tried out on my middle school team, but I got cut. And I started shooting in my driveway and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And 8th grade made the team. Freshman year, I transferred to this high school, and it was tiny, but my freshman year got to start on varsity.
Nice.
Not the whole season, but for a good portion of it. And it kind of just showed me that, if I started working for it, I would have opportunities.
Right.
And so it was kind of at that point, I was like, man, I'm going to play in college. And, everyone's like, bro, there's no chance. Like, you got a little school. But I was like, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So it's just me in the driveway a lot. And as I kind of went through the years, I actually met Shaw, who, he's still a coach here. But he kind of got me into training. And actually, then when I got into my senior year, I had a couple good years, junior and senior year. I was all league. And I had some interest, but he was really encouraging me to play AAU. And he was like, hey, you got to go play for YBA. And, it's like a 45-minute drive for me.
Right. Yeah, it's not down the street.
No, right. And I'm like, okay, I'll go play. So I came up to the tryout, and, man, I got cut again, like we were talking about. But I called the coach or whoever it was, and I told him, hey, man, like, I know I'm probably not good enough, but, like, give me a chance to be a practice player.
Okay.
Because, like, I just wanted to play against some better talent.
Yeah.
And I said, like, just give me a chance to be a practice player. And he's like, I'll get back to you. And I think a kid, like, just decided to not play. Mm-hmm. So they had an open spot. So he called me, and I got my chance to play for YBA.
Yeah.
The B team. Let me get that right.
It don't matter as long as you're playing. It don't matter. Yeah.
So I was on the B team, bro. My first game I didn't play. But I just really wanted to be good. And I put a lot of effort into it. And as season progressed, and I kind of got more used to, like, playing in their system, I think I got better. I got more confident, and I had some good games. I had some, double-digit scoring games. I was a little bit of an athlete and a defender,
right,
with a streaky offensive game. But it kind of worked out for me, and actually the coach who was the AAU coach was also a Jessup coach, and I eventually actually did get an offer from them from playing from that.
Nice, man.
Kind of special. But then I actually went up when I graduated. I played at Simpson for a year. I redshirted there.
Okay.
But at that time, I kind of realized I wanted to get into coaching.
Yeah.
And so I left that school and I went to Folsom Lake College because I just didn't know how you could get into coaching, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, makes sense.
And they didn't have, like, exercise science or kinesiology at the time.
Okay.
So it was a necessity in my mind to do that. So I went to Folsom Lake College. I started coaching. I interned at a performance center. I trained a lot of kids here in, like, the Folsom, Rocklin area.
Yeah.
Got more involved, did, middle school coaching, all types of things. After some time, I eventually got an offer to go play for a school in Montana, and I transferred up to there. And I was excited. I was, like, just coming off playing in some different leagues down here, and I thought I was in a good spot. I was training hard. I was in the best shape of my life. My vert was the highest it had ever been. I'm 5'11".
Felt like everything was aligning. I get it. Trust me, I get it.
I mean, it don't really change my game because I'm like 5'11", but I thought it was cool. And I got up there, man, and I was there about a month, and I got hit in my mouth in a basketball scrimmage and fractured my jaw.
Oh, jeez.
And
that's tough.
Yeah, and that was the last game I played in, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Damn, man.
Yeah, I'm wired shut. I got
for real?
got a metal plate right here.
Oh man, it was that, like, shit. What happened? Was he, like, diving for a loose ball? Caught an elbow? What happened?
Dude, definitely a freak accident. But, like, I was jumping for a rebound. Some guy was coming down, and we just collided. And I don't know how that happens because, like, just how it happened. But that ended my playing career, and I was in the hospital bed. I was having surgery, and I was thinking to myself, and I was like, man, like, I'm an okay basketball player, but, like, really, I'm not that good. But I think I'm going to be a good coach because at that time, I basically started training guys on my college team, and they were paying me money. Oh, well,
like,
and it's kind of crazy.
You're an entrepreneur. You're starting your own business. That's the sparks of starting your own business.
Yeah. And I was in the hospital bed, and I literally drew out a logo for my little business. I came back, and I talked to my coaching staff, and they actually ended up bringing me on as a coach the same season I was a player. I became their intern strength coach, and then I basically, like, directed their strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I mean, and I think God had a plan, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because,
like, I thought it was for me to play, but it wasn't.
Right.
And that kind of opened the door to get into coaching. My next couple of jobs I was just a volunteer at a Division III school and NAI school. I got a GA at a D3.
Yeah.
I just kind of worked my way up. Eventually, I did a couple of years of basketball coaching and then a lot of strength and conditioning, and I realized I was kind of like a basketball strength and conditioning specialist. But I also spent time with Notre Dame football for a little bit.
Okay.
and I directed Division II and a Division III for every sport.
Okay.
Just after some time, man, a lot of, I think, hard work and networking, but I got a phone call from a couple of NBA teams, actually, and I had an opportunity to pick, and I went to the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Which was, I was directly at a Division II one day, and the next day
I
was walking in
the
there.
Detroit Pistons. Wow. No, and I like I told people don't know. For you guys that don't know, I've been watching your career, all for a lot of the progression for years, through social media and stuff like that. But how obviously that's my natural next question is, stepping into that for the first time. How did that feel? Where of course I would say maybe a little nervous or whatnot, but did you go into it with any expectation, or did you go into it kind of open-minded, or did you have a plan? What was that process for you? Stepping away from college to now working with the pros.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and it was tough if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, because
I remember I was in the hotel the night before my first day, and I was just like mentally psyching myself up, like you could do this, like you can walk in there tomorrow and you could be okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be honest, I was scared.
That's all right. That's a good thing. It's called being human. That's it. Like you said, being human. Yeah. But then what was it like when you finally, got going? How'd that feel?
Yeah, so I had a cool role because I was like the G League head strength coach, and then I assisted with the Pistons.
Okay.
And so my first couple of days, we like went into training camp, and so basically guys who were two-way players, guys who were G League invitees to like the roster to training camp, I got to work with them, but in the NBA setting. So I was just learning from everyone, and I basically then was able to take that learning experience. And I sat in the same, like my office was in the same room as all the other strength coaches, which was helpful. But then I kind of got to have autonomy with my program, which is the G League guys. Yeah. But we trained out of the NBA facility, and then I would sometimes also help up. But so it was just a really great year of having autonomy with the G League players and being able to choose what I thought was the right solution for them. But then when I was working with the NBA team, like I had mentors, I had the people above me who were in my corner and honestly like took me under their wings, and they were like, hey man, like I'm gonna help you out, and like that made all the difference that I had guys above me who believed in me and told me like you could do this, but also they allowed me to make decisions that also impacted them, which was special in my year there. So a lot of learning and a lot of like serving, honestly, a lot of serving. Okay. But in totality, it's like I learned a lot about the process. Yeah. No, and that's what I was going to ask you. If you had, and what you answered, which was, did you have people that mentor you, kind of help you learn the ropes? You know what I mean? Which is great because, I think anyone could have a natural anxiety or fear of going into a situation like that, where people there you might have to prove yourself, or, they might be feeling like, man, this dude coming from my job, fuck him, basically like people could feel like that. So it is good that it sounds like you had more of a welcoming experience in terms of, I'm sure there's times they're like, hey man, like we need you on this, but that's a job. That's what any job. But it sounds like they were trying to give you the tools to be successful is what I'm saying. And then, so how long were you in that phase or working with the Detroit and whatnot? So I was there for one season, and I'll be honest, like I was not wanting to leave. I had a lot of friends in Detroit. I had a great experience there, and I felt like I was one of the guys, you know. Yeah. Especially in the G League, it's like players and coaches, we're all grinding. We're all trying to get our call up. Yeah. Like everyone on that team is trying to get their call up. Everybody hungry. Everybody, you know? And so you're playing in Sioux Falls, South Dakota one day. You're playing in these little towns, and the next day you're playing in an NBA arena, and then you're back in a little town. And so you wanna for everyone around you to have that opportunity to go up. And we'd have players, right, who get a 10-day, and they made more money in that 10-day than their whole year. Wow. And so you're just so close to it. And I love that feeling and being with the guys. But as our season was progressing, through a connection, the Las Vegas Aces had just won their first championship. Mm-hmm. They were opening, at the time, the only women's only performance pro center in the nation. Yeah. And they were trying to hire a strength coach who had experience with some of the technologies that they were now having access to that they didn't have before. Yeah. And so I kind of got headhunted, And I had an offer from them before my season was over in Detroit. And it was an opportunity to come back closer to the West Coast where I'm from, but also to be a lead performance coach for a championship team.
Okay.
So, I was there for one season and then moved over to Las Vegas.
And do you feel, well, let me rephrase, in your opinion, do you think a lot of what you learned in that year at Detroit still carries with you today, and what you did with the Aces?
Like from a training perspective?
Yeah, from the training side, yeah.
Yeah. And this is one of the questions I think I get asked the most frequent is just like, tell me the difference between working with like the NBA versus WNBA population.
Mm-hmm, of course.
And, initially it's like you think it's going to be a significant amount of difference, but at the end of the day, they play the same game. It's on the same court. Yep. It's the same space. Obviously, you have differences in players' bodies.
Of course.
You have differences in, say, obviously male versus female athletes, hormones, things like that. Yeah. But training and game is the same. And so I'd say 80 to 85% of the stuff we did was the same. Variation based on my athletes in front of me, myself being the lead performance coach. But a lot of my big rocks with the Pistons were my big rocks with the Aces.
Okay.
And, I'm sure we'll get into this, but like pro athletes, youth athletes, it's like we're hammering away at the same movements and just trying to become proficient.
Yep.
And so a lot less differences than I initially thought.
Yeah. And I like that you use that word proficient as opposed to say like perfect, because I think sometimes, especially youth athletes and parents, and even some of our, unfortunately, I would say, less realistic coaches, we're trying to chase this perfect thing, and it's just like basketball's an imperfect game, so that's just not, you know what I mean? It's just like you said, be proficient at it, not perfect at it, right? Well, then let's get into the Aces. Let's talk about that experience, and obviously, and well, my viewers know this, and my subscribers, I'm going to attach your social media links and stuff like your Instagram and all that to the video, so please go check them out, see for yourself. But obviously, it looks like you had a great experience overall there, and you've clearly been able to help these athletes achieve their goals. Looking back now, reflecting on it, and just looking at the totality of your work. What's your biggest takeaways? How you feel about it? Speak on that if you can.
Yeah, I'd say relationships are everything. In coaching, in life, the way that you interact with an athlete as a coach is going to set you up for either success or failure as a coach. So if I have an athlete who is like, I enjoy being around Jeremiah, they're probably going to enjoy training with me.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, it's like a lot of times athletes remember experientially what they do with you, but they don't remember exactly what they did.
Right.
They remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
They remember, hey, I enjoyed this or I didn't. And so one of my big things, as a coach, is really to treat them as a human being first. And, that's taken a lot of time because, early in my career, it was, man, am I going to get your vert up? Am I going to get you faster?
Right.
All those
looking
things.
for those results, right? Being a results-based business, right? That's, yeah, I get what you're saying, 100%.
Mm-hmm. It's results versus process driven, And with my players, I think learning the process, I would say that would be the biggest thing. So my girls who didn't play very many minutes probably spent a lot of time with me pre-game and post-game. We're lifting pre-game, we're lifting post-game, we're lifting on off days. We're spending a lot of time together, which is, it can be really easy to not want to hear someone's voice when you see them that often.
Right.
And the interesting thing about pro sports is you could play 15 games in 35 days and see your athletes every single day essentially in that time. So just holistically, getting to know them as a human being, and just having conversations that aren't just basketball and lifting. I think that was my big takeaway. The next one is just when we had a target on our back in my first year, they had just won a championship. They just added Candace Parker, and everyone in the world wanted to talk about them. And there was just everyone wanted to take us down, and the team had to band together.
Right.
And they had to come together. And there's a lot of things that aren't publicly known about that team in that year, but the resilience around some of the events that happened on the inside really showed to me how much effort and how hard it is to win a championship, and how you have to do it together.
Right.
You have to do it as a team. And I might be the strength coach, but I might be doing towels one day.
Right.
You know, I might be mopping. Like, if it takes that for my team to win a championship, we all got to do it. So just a collective mindset of winning. And then I think the last thing is just like, I think the girls had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, they just enjoyed being with each other.
Good.
They had so much fun, and when you're playing basketball and you're winning and it's fun, it's like it's the best thing
makes
ever.
life much easier.
Right?
Much easier to deal with.
Yeah.
No, that's great insight. Like, walk me through, you know, a day in the life. Like, so like, for instance, you know, jokingly talk about it, but you know, Kelsey Plum, obviously a prolific star there, or Aja Thompson, right? You know, they call you up. Hey, I need to get some shots up, or I need to get some work. Or you kind of, I'm trying to give insight to those who might want to do your field. That's what I'm trying to frame the question the right way. So is it like, hey, they call you up, you say, yeah, no, I'll be there, you know, when you can, or are you kind of more on like, you know, these are the hours you work? Because your job isn't what you would call quote unquote traditional, right? Like, it's not like me going to UPS where this is my set hours, this is what I do, this is when I clock in, this is when I clock out. I feel like because of the personal relationships you have, you might get a phone call at, you know, 11 at night just saying, hey, if you don't mind, I know it's late, but I'm really frustrated. Can we work on this? Or 5 a.m. or, you know what I mean? Like that influx. I was just curious if you can give some insight to some of my viewers and guests who might not know those kind of details.
Yeah. So it's definitely a real thing that it's a 24/7 commitment. And I think as you build trust with an athlete too, they might even rely on you for like more than you thought they would at the beginning. And we try to schedule everything out with our athletes. A lot of times it ends up being a day in advance when you're in a busy block of scheduling where you're, say, playing 3 games in 5 days. But on average, we try to schedule out ahead of time, you know.
No doubt.
But there's certainly many, you know, late nights or early mornings that I wasn't expecting to spend with an athlete doing whatever we might be doing, training, getting conditioning in, you know, or I'm rebounding, getting up shots for someone, and we're on the road. But it comes with the territory, you know, and I think the one thing I really try to let my girls know is like, hey, I'm in your corner. Yeah. Like, when you need it, like, and we need to, like, I don't necessarily want to get up early and do this, but like, if that's what you need, like, I'm gonna be there. Right. If it's late, like, I don't necessarily want to, but if that's what you need, I'll be there for you. And so that we're building this relationship that it's like a lot of investment into it over time. So that one day I can't make it because I got something else going on, they understand.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you gotta have a life too. So no, but no, it is like, that's, you know, I would say an organization, it really is it's the pieces that make the whole puzzle, right? So, you know, that's what I like to hear about. So I want to do a pivot right now. Let's talk about youth, right? You know, like I told you, the main premise of this show is to give youth and parents and people insight into this basketball space and all its facets and all its stuff like that. You now being removed from AAU, college ball, like you said, you know, not necessarily playing it, but still a part of it. What is your perspective of youth AAU basketball development, coaching? You know, pros and cons. Jamal Crawford, when I interviewed him, he had a great. He said the way he articulated, I like what he said. He said, you know, I'm going to say what's good and what needs to be worked on, right? Not necessarily cons, but like, you know, what can we improve on? What's your perspective if you're looking at youth basketball today? Yeah,
I'll just say, you know, to some extent, take it with a grain of salt because I'm pretty removed from working in this space. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you want your end product to be an exceptional athlete who's performing at a high level, it's like, you'd probably want a lot of developmental milestones checked off by the time they got to you. Right. So if I'm working with a pro athlete population and I'm getting a new athlete, there's probably a lot of different things. And we could talk about basketball. I mean, we could talk about a jump stop. Right. You know, we could talk about a rip through. We could talk about a shot fake. Like, any just basic basketball pattern. But then in the weight room, there's a lot of like fundamental patterns, you know, lunges, squats, pulls, pushes, hinge. I would love to see my athletes get to me, and I'm proficient in these areas, so that we can then layer on a more advanced offensive and defensive scheme.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're doing something that's really technical and tactical. However, a lot of times when you get these athletes, it's like they've been exposed to a high level of basketball, but they've missed a lot of these developmental little pieces along the way.
Okay.
And so I would just say, in retrospect, if I were to have input on youth basketball, it's just like, man, let's check off some just really basic skills, and also let's teach our kids to have like emotional balance, because you're seeing so many kids, and I'm sure we'll talk about this even more.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey man, I'm the star. I need it it's about me, and you can't tell me no. Like, you can't have a coach tell me no.
Right.
But they're lacking so many fundamental skills. And so when someone can finally actually stand up to them and tell them no, which might be in college or it might be pro level, it's like it's almost too late for some of these developmental markers, and then they get passed up at that later age.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's just like it's hard to give that a succinct answer.
Yeah. No.
But that would be my understanding.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of cool, your perspective of it all, because like you just said, you get a rookie, you know, let's say 18, 19, 20, whatever, but just you getting these rookies, you're getting essentially that final product of their whole youth experience. And you're going to notice the good points, and you're going to notice the bad ones, and you're going to notice like what needs correction and what can we build on, right? Like that's why I think you vocalizing that is huge, because they need to know this. I've got another question for you. When would you recommend, because this is always kind of a hot topic debate or whatever, and I my background, I was a trainer. I got my degree in kinesiology and things like that. So I know I have some insight, and I say my piece to it, but you might have a difference of opinion. When would you say is it good for a youth body to start working on it? And that could be lifting, it could be, dumbbell work, kettlebell work, resistance bands, push-ups, body weight work, whatever. When do you think is a good age to start that? I personally think 11, 12. You could start introducing, in my opinion, weights at 13. Doesn't mean you go out there and start doing fucking power cleans and stuff, but give them some dumbbells, teach them the whether it was like 10, 15 pounds, teach them, the motions to do curls and bench press. Just teach them the proper form, right? Then we start progressively building from there. But I'm just curious of your opinion on that.
Yeah, and I guess one question I'd have for you too is like, what would you say are the things that need to happen for the 12-year-old to do that too? Because is it the age of the athlete, or is it like...
I think it's a combination of the age. It's several things to me, variables, and that's a great question you gave to me. It would be a combination of the age, the body type, and I want them to have some experience. You know what I mean? Because this is always like my fear, because I've seen it happen. You get these 14, 15-year-olds fresh into high school. Coaches will start making them lift weights. There's no guarantee that coach specifically actually knows how to lift weights. They've seen it work with, it's kind of that one size fits all, but we know in this training space, there is no one size fits all, right? There's a general guideline and you adapt it to the athlete, right? So that's where I think if you start teaching these 12-year-olds just the motions, the forms, give them that experience so they're not intimidated when they see the weight room, and they're kind of just, they're reacting off of fear as opposed to reacting off of knowledge and experience, right? I think that all plays a factor. Because again, if I got, let's say, a 12-year-old who's, kind of on the smaller side, super underdeveloped, not really genetically, a freak or anything like that. Nah, we're just going to do simple body weight workouts, body weight squats, some push-ups, some sit-ups, some different stretches, maybe some resistance bands work. But let's say I got a 12-year-old who's like, super jacked or whatever. Okay, I might introduce some dumbbell work to you, some kettlebell work, maybe we'll do, just the bar and do bench pressing and power cleans just to teach you the form. Because when you hit 13, 14, 15, you're going to now have that knowledge when you walk into the weight room, right? So that's kind of my side of things.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're preparing them for like high school when they're getting into some of that. Yeah.
Right.
And I think like that kind of idea of preparation is so important. And it's actually interesting because like personally, like I have an Olympic weightlifting background.
Yeah.
And if you read a lot of like the old like Russian Soviet weightlifters and like their texts and like what they recommend is they recommend their athletes start like gymnastics and body weight, like swimming, parkour.
Swimming is great,
right? Because it's like a completely different use of your body.
Yeah.
But like gymnastics is also because you're just gaining like tactile strength and stuff like that. So like I would almost put that into my category of training for my athletes from like 0 to 5, 6. You know,
right, like that.
Another thing that, and this might be a little bit controversial, it might not be, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
But like I don't like athletes to start rotation until probably like I'm talking closer to 8, 10. So like we're talking like baseball, golf, etc.
Okay.
Because a lot of times they start swinging in the same direction over and over.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas like gymnastics or like swimming, it's like you're using both sides. And yeah, there's probably going to be some like dominance on one side versus the other. But when we talk about sport specialization, it's like when it happens too early, you get pigeonholed in a certain lane. And there's this thing in the body called fascia. Fascia like connects muscle tissue. If you do the same thing too many times, you'll build up this tissue pattern where you're going to be really tight in one direction and really loose in the other.
Yes.
And it gives you an advantage in that pattern. My biggest thing is just not having athletes build up these negative patterns at too young of an age.
Okay.
So a really diverse amount of movements early. And then I would love athletes to start Olympic weightlifting at a pretty young age, just like they do overseas.
Yeah.
But not necessarily like loading heavy.
Right.
Kind of like literally what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
Like high reps, low weight. That's generally what I teach when I start working with my guys. But no, that's good. I mean, unless you have more to add or whatever. But
I was just, the only other thing would be just like core and posture, like control. Because like if you teach a kid how to have postural control when they're shooting a jump shot, they're landing on 2, you should see that in the weight room when I'm working you through like a crawl progression.
Okay.
And so I would just like to see my athlete in their sport and in the weight room have proficiency over like their core and pelvis.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Because I know that I like to get different perspectives. I want people to hear different voices. They hear my voice enough. So I want them to hear that from somebody else. When you're working with your pro athletes, especially on, like I said, the weight room side, things like that, how important is that? Because there's a guy on social media. He's also a D1 coach, really, really good dude. We've interacted. I think of him more as a friend. His name's Brandon Barnes. You might have run across some of his stuff on Instagram or whatever. But, he spoke about a clip like this. He said, you want to get D1, or you want to, play college ball. He was saying, let's just exclude D1, but let's just say you want to play college basketball. He was like, for you high school guys, especially, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. I mean, shit, now 19, 20-year-olds, who knows? But, like, he said, the weight room's the key.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can shoot threes all day. You can be super great footwork. But if you lighten the ass and you can't even move on the basketball court because these guys are so much physical, like you not playing college ball, like your body has to be ready for it. Now we go to your side of it. They're there. They made it to the finish line, so to speak. They're at the highest level. Do they still need that weight room? Do they still, you know what I mean? Like, or do you find a balance? I'm just curious, on your side of it.
Yeah.
With that.
I would say, a lot of athletes who kind of get to I'm just gonna talk about the pro level. If they get to the pro level and it's based on skill, it's like there's a huge physical gap between them and everyone else.
Okay.
And so those guys, like immediately, it's like we're probably gonna increase their load above a player who's been there for a while.
Okay.
You would be, maybe not you because I know you've been exposed to some high level players, but I think most people would be shocked by how strong and muscular a lot of pro athletes are. But you don't, when you're watching them on TV, it's like everyone is, and so you don't see it, you know?
Well, it's so funny just circling, thinking of that moment, because you'd be surprised how many people think like Steph Curry's small.
Yes,
like they think he's a small person.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
if you saw him at a gym with a t-shirt, like a sleeveless
he's 6'3"
on,
and he's pretty built now.
Yeah.
Like, you could say maybe his first few years he was the skinny kid, but I'm like, No, Steph Curry's not a little guy. Like,
Yeah.
they think Russell Westbrook's like a little guy. Damian Lillard is a little guy. I mean, like, no, these guys are like 6'4", 2-something,
Yes.
like, and in great shape.
Facts.
It's crazy, man. But no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're so right. It's like, it's deceiving.
Yeah.
And so these high school and college players, it's like, the skill might be there, but there's a physicality gap. And when you're driving to the lane and someone chests you and you get bumped 2 feet out the lane, you're not getting a call. You know what I mean? So now you're not playing because you're not strong.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, that advantage you had of athleticism is now not an advantage. And so it's like, unless you invest that work in the weight room at that point, it's like, man, there's going to be someone else just as good as you who's going to put in the work, and they're going to replace you. So, I mean, it's pivotal, man. And not every player, I'll be honest, there are players who don't lift and who are exceptional. And you talked about Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
That boy does not like the weight room, know?
But again, the man could dribble the shit out the ball,
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That for your star players, do they still, is like the weight room and the work? I mean, are they still putting in that relentless amount of work? From your experience?
Yeah, like I'll say, fortunately been blessed to work with a number of all-stars and high draft picks and stuff like that. And I would say, on average, the players who have Olympic appearances, all WNBA or NBA appearances, are more likely probably the ones who lift more.
Okay.
And train more. Just in general, I would just say train more.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be some guys who their skill isn't maybe as high, but they lift so hard that keeps them up with everyone. It could be your advantage. But there's just kind of like a bare minimum that you got to be at so that you could play, and then your skill can take off from there.
Okay. What if you add any insight? Because like I told you, prior to the show, a lot of kids listen to this. A lot of my parents listen to this, and I do it because I try to give them a grounded, realistic, real world perspective of what it takes. Not to be pro. Like you have the advantage of seeing pro athletes, so that's why I'm really glad you're here. But I'm always speaking on like just being a high school varsity player and then a college player, because that's usually most kids' dreams first before they even worried about being pro. But it's like, what would you say, if you can quantify it to a degree, what does that bare minimum of strength look like?
Man, that's hard. It's hard. I think it's pretty dependent on the age of the athlete and then where they're around. But I would just say, like, because some people don't even want to squat these days, which is, in my opinion, that's fine. Like, if you don't want to squat, you don't want to bench, that's fine. But you got to be doing something that's like in that same pattern.
Right.
But I really like my girls to be able to do pull-ups.
Okay.
And then I really like to be able to see my guys do, say, weighted pull-ups.
Right.
And weighted push-ups.
Okay.
And for girls, like, I really want to see them be able to do pull-ups, push-ups, dips, and then squat somewhere around 1 to 1.5 times body weight.
Okay.
And guys, if we're squatting, I want to see close to 2 times body weight.
Okay.
That's not a necessity, though. I'll be honest. Yeah. Like, you could, if you got a 6'11" player, you probably don't put a barbell on the back.
Again, and some, because that's the reality. They're because the bodies are so different, the height and all that. There are the genetic factors, no doubt about that. But but it's good, at least you're giving some insight to some bare minimums that you think, you got to be able to do a couple of these things to give yourself a fighting chance, right? Like you said, that bare minimum. So no, that's good insight. If you have any more to add with that, or that pretty much sums that up?
Yeah, I'd say, if you were in a specific team setting, it's like I probably have more specifics, but as a general, I'd say that would be a pretty good overview.
Perfect. And then probably, my last question, or one of my last questions for the WNBA stuff. Obviously, the boom in popularity. That's what I mainly want to talk about. I just did an Instagram post kind of talking about that with Marcellus. He's a content creator, Sac kid, right? Obviously, you working in that side, you visually saw Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, just that rookie class and how it's popularized women's basketball. Where, from your vantage point, how do you feel about that and seeing that kind of transformation, happen to the league as a whole? Yeah, no, it was a special time to be in the sport, if we're being honest.
and it's pretty cool because there's a lot of female athletes who are playing at an exceptionally high level for a lot of years, and now are finally getting some of that exposure,
Right.
you know. And we're starting to realize that, or on average, people are realizing that it's the league was probably undervalued, right? With that being said, like year one, we flew commercial. Year two, I was there, we flew charter. And that jump in itself changed a lot for us because that meant maybe we got in an extra workout. Right. Maybe we got a little bit extra sleep. Maybe we had a better breakfast. And so just like a cumulative effect over a whole season, it made a huge difference for us, for the athletes. Yeah. And I think it also improved the product that the fans saw too. And so I think that's a cool thing with, like, as the popularity goes. And the NBA had its growing pains too, right?
Yeah, of course. No, well, everybody knows, the history. People don't, well, this is the youth. They don't know the shit. But, like, Magic and Bird saved the NBA. Like, you know what I mean? Jordan obviously took it to a whole nother level. But everyone knows Magic and Bird saved the NBA. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the like you said, the growing pains that each league, I think, has to go through. Yeah. I hate to say right now, NBA is kind of on a downswing because, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, just because of the bullshit I see with that. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
but if you just look at the stats of viewership, it's like, it's a fickle thing, man. Like, popularity is. It's like, it's hard. It's just hard to be in the limelight forever, bro.
For real. No, 100% for real. Yeah. I want to do my hot takes. Hold on one sec. Gotta do my intro. We're going to hot takes. Let me give a better one. There we go for my viewers. Okay, so first question I want to ask you, like we talked about before you started recording. I made an Instagram post talking about the Euro League in comparison to NBA, youth basketball in general, because obviously it's the main premise of this show, the Euro style of teaching, where they really stress fundamentals, practice over games. The community backs it up. The coach is the end-all, be-all. Clearly very opposite sentiments of the U.S. basketball system. My overall take with the U.S. basketball system is we have, unfortunately, like the survival of the fittest mentality, where in terms of it has to be about, like you said, me. I have to shine. You have to be better than that person. And that person they're talking about is on your team. You have to be better than your teammate all the time. Like, it's true. I think it does breed the best will be the best. And obviously in a population pool like the U.S., we have a very big pool, as opposed to if you're in Australia, right? Your pool is a lot less. But I know in those other countries, because I've been and I've traveled and I've seen it myself, they stress team, they stress the club, the parents trust the coach is really someone who invests and loves the kids and to becoming men, all the above. With all that being said, which do you think might have the superior developmental tactics? And, what do you think the Euro players, the overseas players, that style might beat out the U.S. in development?
Man, it's a loaded question right here.
Yeah, 100%.
This is where people get clips.
Yes. 100%, man. It's tough.
Yeah. No, I'll just be like, regardless of system, because you'll know what system I'm talking about. When you put the athlete first versus when you put the good of the team first, you're just going to end up with a different result. And if it really comes down to, in my opinion, it's like, what are you getting out of it? If your goal is to create an athlete and put him on a pedestal, sure. If that's what you want to do, like, go that way. If your desire is to win games, and I think also, like, we play basketball because we enjoy this game.
Yes. And
if you're playing on a team where, like, everybody got your back and you miss a shot, but, like, it's okay. Like, your teammates got you, versus you missed your shot, you come out the game and, like, it wasn't your night, it wasn't this, you got excuses. It's a completely different situation. And, I mean, personally, it's like, if I'm in that position and I have the ability to direct a team, it's like, I want to put my team first. Yeah. And I promise you, if we put that team first, your athletes will shine too.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to go backwards in, I think, a lot of people's minds, right? Because they're thinking that if they're putting the athletes first, they're ending up with a poor right? If they're putting the athletes first, they're ending up with a good team result. But a lot of times when you put the team first, you end up with a good athlete result too. So,
and I like that answer. Good answer. No.
Was that a safe answer?
Yeah,
there?
I think that's a very safe answer. No, because I mean, I say it, you know, like I don't mind being controversial. Again, I don't even know if this shit's that controversial, but it was funny because there were some people in my comments. They were arguing straight up because I said in the post, I said, you know, I think the best way to do it is integrating both. So the way I coach myself, I integrate the Euro style of coaching, training, teaching with, you know, some U.S. flair, if you want to call it that, right? With some of the get in your bag and all that type of stuff, right? Because, like, there's one rule I really enjoy with overseas. And in case, you know, there's some, you know, super detailed person listening to this, when I'm referring to Euro, I mean like Germany, France, you know, Russia, whatever. I'm not talking about like Australia and the NBL. I'm not talking about China with the CBL. I'm talking about that developmental style. And most people who are basketball heads, I think, know what I'm talking about. But like, for instance, in Germany, you can't run a zone until the kids, I believe, are in 8th grade. You know what I mean? Like, and we know you go to any random AAU weekend, you got a bunch of 8-year-olds out there zoning, right? Because for one, let's be real, it's easier to teach. Those kids aren't strong enough to shoot the ball. They're not even strong enough to really pass the ball very well. So, you know, it's a distinct way to cheat in AAU basketball, right? Yeah. Because if you get like a really tall 8-year-old, you just stick him in the middle of the paint. Because so none of those kids can shoot layups, right? And you just say, okay, zone, ball goes here, you go here. Ball goes here, you go here. And you're just waiting for these kids to throw up these terrible-looking shots because their form is just off balance because their bodies are just physically not strong enough. And you grab the rebound, and the big kid just dribbles all the way down the court, but, you know, bumping other kids off and then making a layup, right? Sure, you might win, but what did your kids learn? What did they develop, right? Yeah. And that's what I mean where I say I think the Euro style of development is superior in some ways to our style of development because they stress, let's learn basketball first and then we'll win. It's
long-term development versus trying to win a game today.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. And that's, you know, I just think if you find the balance between both, it just makes you a better coach.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I you know, there's been a bunch of YouTube videos of people kind of showing the contrast with the Euro League and NBA, especially because you have guys like Joker and Luka and all them being these, you know, prolific players, Antetokounmpo, Wemby, like, you know, you got these guys who could inevitably become the face of the NBA to a degree because LeBron and Curry and KD and them only got so much more time, right? So, you know, there's kind of, I think, a business fear of that from the NBA.
Sure. Where
now you have an overseas guys as the face of your franchise in a U.S. origin sport. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then not to put that xenophobic moniker out there, but business-wise, yeah, I think there is a fear of that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how we fix it. I just know you got to talk about it. Yeah. And that's part of what I do on the show is just try to have that conversation. I just want our coaches to do better. That's just the reality of it. I want our youth coaches to do better. I wish we could be at a point in time where you could get back to coaches and the NBA level really being able to coach. You know what I mean? Like getting a player and, you know, and I know it's a balance to this. Like, I'm not saying you got to be disrespectful and talk your player down, but let's be real. It gets to a point, you know, unless you have a really strong relationship or you have a star player who's okay with it, you can't coach some of these guys. You know what I mean? You can't.
And coaches are getting fired, and it's like they might not have even coached the player. Yeah, you know, to some extent.
Yeah, like you can't. Like if I was an NBA coach, I can't curse LeBron out. You know what I mean? I can't not even curse him out. I can't say like, hey man, get the fucking rebound. Like, you better than that. You fucking LeBron James, go get the fucking rebound. Because if he feels that cross the line, he gonna go to the office. Hey, get rid of this guy. He cursed at me. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to overseas.
Yeah.
The coach is the end all be all. Like, you know, but do we still have the spirit players? Do I still think U.S. is on top? Do I still think we're the best of the best in the world in basketball? Fuck yeah, always.
but that margin, man.
Yeah.
That margin is not as big as it used to be.
I know, right? And I just think it's because of the formula of how they teach. It's superior to ours in some ways. Not all of them, but in some of them, right? And if we don't collectively, as youth basketball teachers, and I'm speaking of guys like me, directors, coaches, whatever, if we don't start looking at that and fixing it, we are going to run into 10, 15 years from now, the EuroLeague might be the best league.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, players might leave from here and go over there, right?
Yeah.
Instead of staying here. And the NBA might not be number one. And, of course, I don't want to see that. But I do think we have a responsibility as teachers of the game to fix those things. But yeah, that's my soapbox. That's my fucking rant.
No. There's a lot of facts thrown in there, bro.
No. So, well, I want you to speak on, you know, I know you're done working with the Aces for a while. You know, what's the plan for yourself, for your future? You know, what's the next step for you?
Yeah. So, this end of last year, there was kind of just a period where I was just kind of playing with some different ideas, and you know, to be honest, I had a couple different teams at different levels reach out, and I've given a lot to this career path. You know, moved a lot. I think I've lived in like 10 states in 10 years or something like that, and it's been exceptionally special. And I'm so grateful and for the relationships, but. You know, I'll be honest, it's like I traded my career for time with the family in so many moments and so many different things. And so I was approached by a company about a role where I do basically like flooring and racks and then weight room design, like full weight room design for teams, you know, programs, high schools, middle schools. But my job is just to go network, spend time with coaches and talk to them, you know, and relationship build. And I think it's honestly kind of, I took it as an opportunity also to kind of be like a sabbatical to get away from coaching, but to keep networking. But also, you know, potentially meet some younger coaches and have an opportunity to educate and also just share my experiences and what I've been through too. And so, yeah, right now I just recently stepped into that. But yeah, I'm all over the West Coast. I travel a lot. I see a lot of coaches, but man, just the blessing of spending time with just other coaches and having conversations is something I'm just like super stoked about. Yeah,
no. Well, I'm glad you, I guess, took that job because that what got us here finally.
Yeah, facts.
No, well, because you know, I know you got shit you got to do. I got shit I got to do. But no, I still want to ask you these couple quick questions before you get out of here. If you could speak to the parents of their youth athletes aspiring to become professionals or collegiate, shit, even varsity high school, whatever level you want to speak to, what's the advice you would give to those parents?
Man, the first is I would probably say is you don't know what's right for your kid in all situations. There's definitely times where you know what's right for your kid, but pushing through adversity makes them better athletes and better human beings. And I think whenever you come to these points where you think that your kid deserves something more, and if you could emotionally separate from what's going on, which I mean that's hard, man.
No,
let's be real.
Yeah,
all decisions are emotional. Even if you calculated the math of a situation, it's still emotional.
Yeah.
You just decided that was your best way.
Yeah.
And if you could step back and say, "Hey, man, will this make my kid a better human being in 10 years or not?" I would really try to think through those situations. And also, development is hard, and you're not going to be the best from day one. And so just like pushing your kids to have grit, to not make excuses, man. Literally, to not make excuses would be the biggest thing. Is just like when I work with athletes, I'll tell them, like when they complain, I'll tell them they're soft. I'll just, I'll be like, hey bro, you're being soft right now.
Right,
Like
right.
for real.
Yeah,
Like real talk, like you're making excuses. I need you to stop making excuses, and you will appreciate it about yourself, and you're gonna get more done. And so when you're working with your kid's not playing their best, and you take them out of their program, and we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Take them out of the program, and you transfer them to a weaker program. You're hurting your kid, but you're also just, when they're in a work situation, when they're in a relationship situation, and things are tough, they're gonna step away too, because when things get hard, they step away. Teaching your kids to be gritty, to persevere, to push through, and not make excuses, man. Those things are some big pillars to me.
I like that you said that because, like we talked about before the show, man, between the, and I've said it on previous episodes, but I think that transfer portal's the final boss of this AAU symptom of everybody bouncing everywhere and going everywhere. I know, and people know me, follow me, and see the stuff I put out there. I'm a tough coach. I've never hidden that fact. But I always strive and do my best to be fair, objective, and it's never personal. It's always to challenge and push their kid to be as great as I think they can be. I'm not pushing them to be an asshole. I'm pushing them because I see something in that child that I know needs to be pulled out of them because they can't see it themselves, right? And sometimes, it takes a little bit of kicking and screaming, and like they're not going to be happy. They're not going to go, "Oh, coach just told me how amazing I was." No, coach told me I suck at free throws. I got to get better at free throws. Sorry, that might hurt your feelings a little bit, but it's not because I don't think you're incapable of doing it. It's because I know you're capable of doing it. I'm just calling it out so you fix it, right? And then not only that, I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'm going to say, okay, you suck at free throw. Come here. We're going to work on your free throws, right? So I see that as kind of an unfortunate byproduct of the younger and younger generations being, quote unquote, softer. Is and I'm speaking of me as parents and even, people older than me, we unfortunately gave the kids some bad habits. And that's really, run away from adversity, right? That's like run away from adversity. So then, same question, but speak to the kids. Like if you had, kids that listen to this, hear this, you have some insight from seeing these pro athletes, girls and guys, what could you say to them? Say, realistic goals or advice or whatever, speak to them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the one thing is, like, when you see a pro athlete on TV and they do something special and you said, hey man, they're talented, that's a byproduct of years and years of early mornings and late nights. It's a byproduct of 500 makes a day. It's a byproduct of 3 a days, and some of the best players who we consider, and I quote here, naturally talented, you'd have no idea the hours they spend still when they're at the top of it, when they're an MVP level player. You'd have no idea the amount of hours they put in, and they don't talk about it. They never talk about it.
Yeah, they just do it.
They really do, and only a select few people know, and that's all they only want a select few people to know. To the kids, it's like you have two things you could do. You could work out so you could post it and you could talk about it, or you could work out so you could get better and never tell anyone. And if all you care about is training to become the best version of yourself, not making excuses, and not necessarily telling anyone about it, your day will come.
Okay.
But if you try to train so that your day will come now, it's gonna be short lived if it is. It's a long game.
Do you think social media has contributed to some of the what I want to say, microwave culture, in terms of like these kids think, well, if I'm the best 7th grader in the nation, I'm somehow for sure going to make it to the NBA. You know what I mean? Do you think that's kind of been a symptom or, a cause, I shouldn't say something, but a bigger cause of why we have some of that, or some of our athletes have that skewed perception?
Yeah. I mean, man, the moment you think you've arrived somewhere is the moment that you start going downhill.
Yeah.
Because the moment you thought you arrived and some other kid thought they were in second, they're going to keep pushing like they were in second, right? Till they're not in second.
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for a lot of athletes I've trained who had their breakthrough, and probably, fought a lot of demons along the way. Yeah. But the work that was done in the dark came to light. Yeah, man.
No, I like that. My last thing, shout out to the Aces and the Sparks in Seattle. They made this 3-way trade or, two-way trade with Kelsey Plum going to the Sparks and I'm not thinking of her name from Seattle.
Jewel Lloyd.
Yeah, going there. Funny enough,
Mm-hmm.
a good buddy of mine I went to college with, his name's DeMonte. He was her coach, youth coach, and now her current trainer in Seattle. So I'd message him and say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, I guess you're going to Vegas now. He was like, yeah, man, maybe. But no, shout out to them and all that. My only real question with that specifically is when you were working with Kelsey and women of her caliber, how focused are they? You know what I mean? Like I really, because I've tried to do more and more talk on the women's side. Because let's be real, men's basketball is talked about way more, and there's thousands of fucking podcasts at this point talking about it. So I'm really more or less trying to find a balance of both, right?
Yeah.
Because I have young women, young girls that listen to the show too, and they look up to a woman like her.
Sure.
Maybe you can tell them as someone who is around that type of athlete, how hard she works, how much work she put in, but speak on that if you can.
Yeah. I'll just say, Kelsey Plum is A, an exceptional human, but B, an exceptional worker. Like, she became who she was because she has that mentality that she's second best. I'll be honest. Like, she
Really?
does. She's,
Okay.
Like, she trains harder than any probably athlete I've ever met, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
The amount of total hours she puts in a day is like, you think you work a full-time job? She work a full-time job and a half on training herself,
Right.
like real talk, and does everything right, like from an eating perspective, trying to sleep perspective, all those things. She has become who she has due to the amount of work she has put in.
Okay.
And I would just say, like, for anyone else who wants to follow in that type of footstep, it's like, it's possible, but it's going to take more work than you ever thought it would take.
Right.
And if you can commit to that, more work than you ever thought it could take, and you can I'll say this, there'll be players working out, we have practice players, whatever. You have a bad day, Kelsey Plum going to call you out for it. She's going to call you out right on the spot. She's going to tell you to fix your attitude. And, like, that's what she demands from everybody around her. And that's, many years into her career.
Nice.
And, you gotta every day put the work in, and it's an uphill grind every day.
All right. Well, shout out to them and those pro athletes. I definitely want to say thanks, man. I know I do appreciate you coming in. I do definitely, if you make it again, I want to do like a part 2. And yeah, I want to talk more into this because, like I said, I think I love hearing your guys' perspective because you guys get the privilege of being on the back end and seeing the stuff that's not showcased, right? Everyone sees the game, the final product, but that's why I like getting people from your type of perspective on the show. Is there anybody you want to shout out real quick or any closing words before we get out of here?
Man, I definitely appreciate you having me on. Shout out to my fiance, Julianne.
Congratulations, brother.
We're planning a wedding right now, and she's working hard at it. So,
Okay.
man, it's allowed me to be able to have conversations like this with less stress. So I appreciate her. But,
No, man. And I know your next stop's the Bay.
Yeah.
So, safe travels. Enjoy that. Again, for those who were listening, if you're on the audio side, you're a real one. You made it to the end of the episode. For you guys checking out on YouTube, again, I really appreciate you. Maybe do the HBO special, help subscribe, help a brother out, hit the like, hit the follow. But if you don't, hopefully the insight still helps you. Again, Jay, thank you, bro. Thank you for coming here. I will have links to his social media in the description. I suggest follow him, see his journey, and support. Johan, my producer, always good to have him here helping and supporting. Again, everybody out there, keep working your ass off, man. Keep figuring it out. Keep grinding like he just told you. And maybe good things will happen. And if it doesn't happen, keep fucking going anyway. All right? That's just how life works. No, man, thanks again for being here. That's it. We are out.